Question now arises upon third reading and final passage of Senate Bill 951. Representative Sprenger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I have a great honor today, probably one of my greatest honors since I've served in this body, and it's the opportunity to bring to you Senate Bill 951. Senate Bill 951 designates June 25th of every year as Korean War Veterans Honor Day. This bill came to me from my not-so-new friend anymore, Louis White, who I just introduced. We were at a meeting, and I don't even remember which meeting it was, but we were at a meeting several months ago, maybe a year ago. We started talking about the upcoming session, and Louis is a veteran of the Vietnam War, and he came to me and he says, you know what's missing? He says, Korean War vets have never been appropriately acknowledged or welcomed home, and we need to do that. So he championed this bill. He did a great deal of work, and that is how this bill came to you today on this floor. Oregon has 340,000 veterans. 39,000 of them served in the Korean War. Unfortunately, the Korean War is often referred to as the Forgotten War. Coming so soon after World War II, many people were eager to put the horrors of war behind them. When Korean War veterans returned home, there was a little said or done to honor their sacrifice. I'd like to thank my colleague, Senator Mona Sanderson, for her hard work on this legislation. She championed this over in the Senate. And certainly, I would give all the credit to Louis White for bringing this forth and sharing this opportunity with his colleagues from a prior war. To give you a bit of background, this war began when North Korea invaded South Korea on June 25th, 1950. America and the United Nations quickly came to the defense of the South. Fighting continued for 3 years until negotiations finally resulted in a ceasefire agreement. These veterans played a significant role in preserving democracy for South Koreans. The United States has suffered over 36,000 casualties, and nearly 5,000 are still listed missing in action. The casualty figure is higher per year than the 58,000 American casualties spread over 10 years in Vietnam. 74,000 Oregonians fought in the Korean War, and nearly 300 paid the ultimate price. Senate Bill 951 passed unanimously in the Senate and the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and I thank that committee and the other chamber for their work. These Korean War veterans deserve honor, and this bill is a small gesture to show them they are not forgotten. Colleagues, I would encourage you to look both sides sometime today. We have a few folks visiting us here today that I would encourage you to thank for their service, as you so often do. Colleagues, it's with great pride that I bring Senate Bill 951 to you, and I urge your aye support.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Seeing none, Representative, would you like to close? Oh, excuse me. Representative Harker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I don't talk a lot about bills that I'm not carrying, but I have to say something about this one. I was born in the spring of '54, and my father's brother was shot down about 6 months before that. He was a pilot, disappeared in Korea, and when the Kremlin fell, there was a paper trail found that he was one of a number of individuals documented to have been captured by the Koreans, trafficked through China into the Soviet Union, and interrogated there. So having watched what that did to my father and his family, I'm happy that we're carrying this bill here, and would encourage your aye vote, which I don't imagine is a tough vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Representative Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
Colleagues serving on the Veterans Committee, I just wanted to take a brief comment. Obviously, this was one that came out with unanimous support, as it should, and the comments were made that it was well overdue and that we should have done this a long time ago. We've taken great efforts in this building to make sure that veterans are recognized regardless of service. A veteran is a veteran is a veteran. Service members are service members, all entitled to the same benefit. This simply was taking a moment to reflect and remind us that this is a great generation that served admirably with a great deal of respect. And so to the Korean War veterans out there, thank you so much for your service. Thank you also for the class and dignity and respect that you have served and you continue to serve as you have stood side by side with all the other folks that have served in other areas and arenas of war, and you have never made it about you. And it's time we do. So this bill is long overdue, Senate Bill 951. This makes it about our Korean War veterans. Thank you very much for your service, and colleagues, I urge and I vote Senate Bill 951.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, Representative Barker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to the resolution. Colleagues, the Korean War, if you haven't visited the memorial in Wilsonville, it's an interesting park that has some great information just right off of I-5. The Korean War has not only been called the Forgotten War, but it was also called the Accordion War as we went up and down that peninsula. When the North Koreans first invaded in 1950, they drove the Americans back down almost off the peninsula, where they held on in the Pusan perimeter. And then the troops that were called into action were mostly, at the first part of the war, were untrained, poorly equipped occupation troops from Japan. They were poorly led, and they got into combat with highly trained, highly efficient Korean soldiers who had fought in the Chinese Civil War, and they were established combat veterans. There was the landing at Incheon that MacArthur led, and we cut the peninsula in half and then led north, went up to the Chinese border, and the Chinese intervened and pushed us back down. There was some famous battles in that era. There's people in this building that are around that actually fought in some of those battles. There was a group of Marines that were, you probably heard of the Chosen Few. They call themselves, they were trapped up at the Chosen Reservoir. And they were surrounded by 10 Chinese divisions. And when one of the division commanders, Chesty Puller, woke up and told they were surrounded by 10 divisions, he said, "Good, I'll clean up a little bit." He said, "Good, they won't get away this time." And then they fought their way back down through, in the freezing, torturous weather. The Korean, if you take a look at today at South Korea, you wonder, are some of these things worthwhile? Look at the freedom and the prosperity of South Korea and compare that to the starving people in the north that are eating grass if they're lucky to try to survive. And to the men, and a lot of these men and women that served in Korea were draftees. They didn't jump up and say, "I want to go there. I want to fight in miserable conditions," but they went and served proudly. And I want to thank everybody who served there, and I think this is a great bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion, Representative Wingert.
Thank you. Colleagues, just very briefly, that Korean War memorial that was referenced it is in Wilsonville, and I just wanted to invite you all. Every year in late June, there is a ceremony that occurs there to commemorate the anniversary of the start of the Korean War conflict. I attend it every year, and it's a rather small group of folks that show up for that, and there many years is a delegation of Korean War veterans who come over and join the handful of American Korean War veterans who are there. It's a beautiful memorial. It's a beautiful ceremony. It is not always well attended, and I would love to see any of you, if you're in the area and would like to be there to join us for that. I think you'll be moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Seeing none, Representative Sprenger, would you like to close?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I stand here and I confess to you today that I spoke at, I don't know, countless memorial dedications, veterans groups, and every time I stand before those groups, and I speak, I feel, frankly, very inadequate to speak to that group. To tell such an amazing generation, such an amazing group of men and women, I feel at a loss to offer anything to them, until one day I was standing before a group feeling the very same way. What do I have to offer? What do I have to say to this group? And it dawned on me, the best thing I have to say to them is thank you, Your service is remembered, your service is cherished, and your service is valued. And this Senate Bill 951 gives us an opportunity to say we won't forget, and thank you very much.